It's time to take action, and action with a purpose in improving our society from one specific habit that we have as humans, which has not been called out. It's one that it's called juicy, and our parents do it, our grandparents have done it, the people around you, around me, they do it. All it takes is another person to be around you. However, it's one that is also known as a microaggression. What am I talking about? I'm talking about gossip. Gossip is something that it's been happening in pretty much every organization. Say it in a workplace, schools, corporations, friendships, family. And we all know that it's not a good habit to do it. Still, many of us are often the audience of it. Now, we can't change people who gossip. And this is not even an attempt to change the people that gossip. What we can change is how much attention we pay to gossip and the gossipers. That we have control, because it's sort of like a supply and demand, right? So if something is being supplied but there's zero demand to it, then the supply will also diminish, and that's the intention. Now, why am I saying about that? Why do I even care about gossip so much? Because gossip can very quickly turn into bullying. And oftentimes, the person being bullied does not necessarily get the support that they should. But what happens instead is that the person that is often bullied by others, it's removed from that school or that circle of friends or that department or that organization. And the person who bullies, nothing happens to them. That's just the consequences of it. And if you have been bullied, you know that it's true. If your kids have been bullied, you know that it's true. It's often the kid that's being bullied that has to change schools. And the person that bullies, they stay in that school. So, and that's just how it's been done. And, we don't really change anything about it. What we don't realize is that gossips are a creation that is based on lies or exaggeration of the truth. And it changes every time it touches a person. So I'm sure that you have played that game when you were little. In Brazil, we call it telefone sem fio, which is when a person tells another person one thing, and then by the second person, the sentence that you started off with, it's completely distorted. And that's just, how human behavior works. So imagine a gossip that has been spread from, person to person to person, how distorted it is from the truth. Now, if you're curious about person X's life, person Y's life, why not try to reach out to that person yourself and try to get to know that person? And if you have questions about that person, you be the one getting to know that person from that person and not from a third person or fourth person or fifth person, because you know that you're not going to get the legit, correct, truthful version of that person. And that also happens a lot in work environment. If you're a boss, if you're a manager, if you're in charge of a team of people, don't ask about a person from another person, because that's not a way of assessing anyone. And that is where the system fails oftentimes, because what happens is the true politicians, they know how to work it around it. And And that's not the reality. But the genuine people, they don't know how to work the system. And they're just honest. And if you are very honest, you know that you are going to be the target of a lot of different gossips as well. So, do we want people to become less honest, or do we want people just to be more understanding and accepting and gossip less about each other's differences? That's the answer for you to answer. And one last thing that I wanted to remind you is that not for 1 second think that the person that is gossiping to you about someone is also not gossiping about you to someone else when you're not around. Because the person that gossips, they don't care about who they're gossiping. It's a habit that they have. So they gossip about everyone. And you are actually helping them sustain that bad character by being an audience to them. So instead, have the courage and the self-respect and the respect for others, especially to the third person, to say, no, I'm not interested in your version of that person. Let's not talk about that person. Or this is making me feel uncomfortable because I know that person and I don't like to talk about them when they're not here because it's just not fair to them. It's simple and it speaks volume, but we need an action for that bad habit that has been passed on from generation to generation to change.